I do have to start this off, and it's to you, Rosie and Matthew. How did you get this idea going?
We wanted to do something that blended New Zealand and American culture, but there's not that many stories out there. So Rosie found this story, and she had approached me and said, I kind of have ideas about music already. I think it could be really interesting. Do you think you could make this into a dance? It's about aviation. I mean, how can that work? And I was like, we'll make it work. Well, so yeah. How did you find the story?
Honestly, I don't remember. We were looking and I think we narrowed it down to an era, the 1930s, and then we started looking through newspapers online and looking for stories, and I think that's how we found it.
It's captivating because, airmen and airwomen at that particular time, heroes and heroines in the minds of the public, and of course that's captivating unto itself. Captain Musick, he was an American.
He was an American, and it was an extravagant time to be a pilot or an aviator, because that was just so fresh and just so new age in our world at the time. So he was American, but he was the first pilot to fly to the Pacific Islands, South Pacific Islands, and to New Zealand, and the first mail carrier to ever do it. And then his second trip back from New Zealand is when he perished.
Christine, I want to bring you in because BalletX has had such success as a contemporary ballet company, but this definition of what contemporary ballet is, I think, changes as you go from company to company. So perhaps give some sense of what this terrain is that you're trying to mine.
Well, for BalletX, we start with ballet, obviously the name of the company, and then we bring in a lot of X, which is the contemporary. So we train in the very early morning with that very classical technique and really striving to get on point and similar lines. And then the choreographers come in and they just build beautiful work from their heart and soul, and it's very contemporary. It's about what is generating ideas for them. It's about their vision and their, sense of possibility with ideas and movement and music.
Matthew, maybe talk a little bit about, because with this particular piece, Sunset, 6:39 hours, we see very much an engagement of art and entertainment. And I wonder if you see it in that same way, and how you decide to develop a work based on those ideas.
Yes, I think with the whole premises, I think I knew it was going to be, and with the music, of course, and these incredible instruments, I knew it was going to be a major, more of a dance theater piece rather than a ballet work, even though there's a lot of ballet in there, and I knew the dancers would have to engage in acting as a plane, and I really had no idea how I was going to do that. But the one thing I was cautious on, and I talked about this with the dancers on the first day of rehearsal, I was like, we need to build a vocabulary so that a lot of the movement style comes back, even when you're in the New Year's Eve scene, that we still see that you're always. So for me, it was about developing a vocabulary that kind of would work within each scene of the dance.
Rosie, I want to bring you in and talk about this incredible score that you've developed with your band. Also, you're a musicologist, and so bringing together the sounds of the South Pacific is totally fascinating and captivating. Can you talk about what you chose and how you chose it?
In New Zealand, we don't really have our own sound or style, but we do because it's actually a combination of all the different things that have come to New Zealand. And what you find in studying what this New Zealand sound is that you just get a bit of this, and mixed up in a new way. So we similar to what Maddie did, we put together a palette. All the building blocks. We're thinking, well, we're going to need ukuleles. We're going to need a Hawaiian steel guitar. We're going to need a jazz band. We're going to need some shells. We're going to need something, this, that, and just kept putting it all together. We're going to need planes, plane sounds. And then we put together, ideas for songs for the different scenes. And they were always sort of half made when we came to rehearsal. And then there was lots of room in rehearsal for us to keep improvising on those themes and adding all the stuff together.
A lot of the process was, us with the musicians and just being like, well, we've come up with this. I'm like, well, we've come up with this. Let's work it out. And it really kind of steadied the process. It kind of quickened things up a little bit because we were just like, we were able to make decisions pretty quickly when we worked that way.
Christine, can you talk a little bit about the staging of this particular piece? Because I find it really fascinating, the way that the dance can share the stage with the music and the placement of certain things. And so we get, as an audience, a real sense of the totality of it.
Well, I would say that's a testament to their magic together and how they've woven these two beautiful art forms and really taken it to a whole nother level. For me, I could watch this ballet over and over again, and I see a lot of ballets. And I just am transformed and transfixed. And I love sort of the obvious and then the subtle aspects of it. So, we obviously have these incredible instruments and this band over here and then these dancers doing things. And I just think it's beautiful how it's woven together.
Matthew, you have got some amazing dancers that you're working with. They are showing us a variety of different styles of dance, everything from hula to point work to, some great moves with the Charleston in the club and all sorts of other variations. And I'm just commenting that there is something incredibly human about these dancers, and if that's something that you're looking for or pushing in the process.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even with all the plain stuff in the beginning, I'm like, don't look too mechanical. Still put your heart and soul into it. It's a very arduous piece to dance because they're all, except for Zachary, who played the captain, they're all like, very bipolar throughout the whole piece. But to make it more enjoyable for them and to let them have a bit of freedom, like the bird section, that changes up a bit each night. They're kind of like, they're working with a structured improv. I taught them a phrase and then I let them kind of like do their own thing. And each night they kind of play with it a little more and explore it so that they feel like throughout the piece that they have room to like change it up and have, for their own self, a variety of their, the run of their performances. So it's not the same every performance.
And Rosie, you are working with dancers and musicians at certain moments, bringing them into the musical component. Talk about how perhaps easy, difficult, challenging it may have been to incorporate the dancers into those sections.
They're amazing. They were very, very easy to incorporate. And the musicians were very, very open to walking around on stage and, really being a part of it too. And the most straightforward thing for us to do was just to say, well, what do musicians do in the world? Well, we play music, so we'll be the people who are jamming with the guitar on the beach. We'll be the nightclub band. We'll be the brass band at the welcome meeting, the B band in the Salvation Army.
It's a wonderful moment in the piece as well where you bring up a social and political element, and it's the land claims issue of the Aboriginal people in New Zealand. And I'm wondering if both of you, either of you, could talk to that.
That was actually a land claims issue in Samoa. So for a long time, New Zealand was the administration for Samoa, not American Samoa, the other Samoa. And we found a lot of writings online, a lot of texts about letters and communications about the Native Land Titles Administration, and a lot of it read like gobbledygook. And you just had the feeling that these letters were not really fair, or even, they're just expecting the person can't read them.
Christine, I'm wondering if you could talk about the wonderful set designed by Maiko Matsushima.
It is beautiful, isn't it? Matthew, they have a long relationship as well, and we've actually modified it for touring. But when we did it originally, there's a ramp that goes up, and the dancers and the singers are up on the ramp, which is really cool because it looks like our goal when we toured it is to make it look like it was the horizon and it never ended. So we did everything we could to achieve that with the beautiful lighting. And this is, Matt, you talk about the idea and concept behind the...
The concept is just, obviously they resemble planes, letters, and just the, again, like the passing of time and the sense of infinity.
So the question is about creative process and how one builds on creative process, how one captures those various elements and brings it to a kind of finality.
I think just always making sure we keep the magic in it, and it doesn't just become this steady, like, oh, here we go again. Again, like I said, it's a very difficult piece to perform for the musicians and the dancers. So, we do a circle of love back there every night to just kind of say a prayer and get us like going. We have to, because to just keep it alive is hard. But everyone's so committed when they perform it.
For the music side, we recorded our jams, and we would record our rehearsals as well. And then, by the time we were at the end of a rehearsal, the original music will have transformed into a new thing, and we would record that, and then you guys would work to that, and we'd practice it and just keep developing it like that. So we did use recording devices, really, really helpful. The musicians all improvise, and they're jazz musicians, so they have really good memories, and the dancers of BalletX have exquisite memories. He would just say once or twice the choreography, and they'd all just remember it. It just blows my mind.
Really care if you're well dressed. Dolphins, you'll say no.